Welcome back to Policy and Rights here on Depictus Media Radio. I'm your host, Michael Clogs. So, let's start with the Ukrainian war, as we are going to hear from Kayoto Gotoh, European Director for the United Nations Department of Political and Peacekeeping Affairs. She briefed the UN Security Council against the backdrop of sustained missile and drone strikes, including a barrage on Wednesday that killed at least 25 people. Despite the intense violence, Ms. Ghosh noted that the UN has supported more than 6 million people with electricity, heating, and water, as well as sanitation services. She also highlighted last month's breakthrough by the UN International Atomic Energy Agency, which secured an agreement from both sides to reconnect the nuclear power plant grid in Zaporizhzhia. Of course, we know that particular plant would have been struck in numerous strikes as a strategic method to make the Ukrainian government comply to the Russian demands. We're also let's highlight some other things for October 25th. The Russian forces forced Kharkiv, the main hospital, with a glide of bombs and drones, wounding 7 and forcing the evacuation of 50 patients as rescue workers fought the fire. Since February 2022, Russia's long-range strike campaign has targeted Ukraine's energy facilities to disable power supplies and deprive civilians of heat, water, and facing persistent strikes. Mr. Zelensky appealed to the U.S., Europe, and the G7 for air defense systems, noting Ukraine's size complicated full air protection. And also, Mr. Zelensky, as the Ukrainian president, was due to meet the U.S. President Donald J. Trump in Washington to seek more military aid with expected sophisticated long-range weapons such as the Tomahawk cruise missiles. The long-range missiles and drones have strategic effect on negotiations and bilateral tensions, as Zelensky said they cause gas shortages in Russia and deepen U.S.-Russian diplomatic tensions. The whole point is that while military campaigns continue, that civilian lives become more and more at threat. And at some point, the toll against civilians and the ability to supply aid is going to teeter. And at that point, will Russia and Ukraine finally find a peace, begin talks for real peace agreements, and find a real solution to the Donbas region and Crimea? What eventually is going to happen to the civilian population Because let's face it, every nation, the civilian population is the backbone of that nation. It is the civilians who run the businesses, they run the hospitals, they take care of the sanitation and supply clean water to the entire nation. It is the civilians that actually work towards everything that makes it a nation what it is. And at some point, governments have to recognize this and protect and agree to continue to protect, including through the United Nations, that civilian targets are off the table for military action. And we have seen this time and time again, that civilian targets are some of the main targets of what Russia is actually hitting back at. So how do we, again, impose sanctions against Mr. Putin for such campaigns? How do we curb them from actually being able to, from desiring to go after civilian targets? That always becomes the question, and the question that the UN Security Council has yet to be able to determine to stop Russia from attacking civilians. So, moving forward, we also have a recording of Mr. Carney as he was in Johannesburg, South Africa, for the G20 summit. There are some concerns, though, and in that speech, I believe that Mr. Carney is going to address those concerns. The U.S. boycotted the latest G20 summit for, well, Donald Trump's reasons for wanting to do that. We're also going to hear highlighted about Canada's Africa's strategy to release under the Trudeau government that aims to shift from aid to trade, but Ottawa has yet to allocate funds while earmarking $2.3 billion for Indo-Pacific strategy. The G20 leaders will meet, and Carney will hold a one-on-one talks with counterparts between sessions, pressing Canada's 5 summit priorities. Carney arrived in Johannesburg just after Ottawa cut back support for the Global Fund amid the largest G20 no-shows, including Russia, China, Mexico, Argentina, and with the U.S., of course, boycotting. So why don't we move forward and let's listen to the entire speech by Ms. Gago as she talks to the UN Security Council about the devastation to the Ukrainian civilians.